Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Tiffany Williamson. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, why don't you put the mic just a little bit closer to you? You can pull it towards you. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always wanted to have, because you're why don't you tell everyone what you do first, and then we'll get into it.
So I am Tiffany Williamson, a licensed clinical mental health therapist specializing in helping women transform their lives.
Ooh la la, français. That's very specific too.
It is. I try to be.
Yeah,
I do.
Is that because you were a mom and you wanted to do that kind of thing?
It is. Okay. It is. So the journey of motherhood was interesting for me, and it really, I would say, motivated how I do my therapy. So I was a professional. I've been a professional for years. I've worked since college, and then I became a mom. Mm-hmm. I got married, and then in the midst of all of that, I started grad school, and I became a person with all of these roles. I was a mom, I was a wife, I was a student, I was a professional, and there wasn't a guidebook on that. I couldn't read a book to figure out how to balance all of these things.
That's important.
And it's a lot.
Yeah.
Motherhood was a whole thing that there's a lot about motherhood they talk about, but there's a lot, the emotional of it, that's not talked about.
Right.
And when I found myself now trying to do all of these roles, I wondered, how do I do this? How do I balance it?
Yeah, I feel like that's an important part of it. That's like the other half of the whole thing is the emotional part. It's like if you can't control the emotional part.
One of the more important pieces that's not talked about.
Yeah. If you can't control that, then you're all over the place.
It can get dark. It can get bad. So yeah, it's a big piece, and it shapes how I do therapy. It shapes who I see as clients, and it shapes how I help my clients. Yeah, because I'm coming from a different perspective.
True. So let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
I am from Ohio, Northern Ohio, Lake Erie.
How was it growing up there?
Cold.
Yeah.
We had real winters, but it was fun. That's where my family is. So that's home. You know, I moved here to go to college. I haven't left because it's warm and I love North Carolina, but Ohio is home. Gotcha.
Was the kind of like the relationship between you and your parents at a good level, I guess you could say?
It was. We had a really close relationship. It's nice. Me, my little brother, and my parents. And I mean, we were close. We did a lot of things together. I have very, very fond memories of home life. Nice. Especially this time of year, Christmas. Yeah. We're big Christmas people. Yeah. I've been told. I think it's normal.
Right. It's a habit now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And tradition and all that.
Exactly.
Do you feel like you got a lot of your mom teachings from your mom?
I did. I learned a lot from my mom. My strength and how to be a confident person came from my mom, because I watched her do that growing up. Because I grew up in a town that was predominantly white. I'm an African-American woman. And I think I was like one of 3 in my entire high school class.
Wow.
So it was a struggle.
So everybody knew your name.
Everybody knew my name.
Mixed you up with the others.
No, because there was just that small amount that they could tell us apart. Okay. But it was a struggle growing up and being the only Black person in a predominantly white community. So my mom, she had to be really strong. She had to stand up for us at times and kind of make sure we were seen. Yeah. And that's something I try to emulate for my own kids now. Just to make sure they know that I'm there. I'm always going to have a voice. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to use my words.
Yeah. Growing up, when your mom would defend you, she would obviously defend you in front of you.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Of course,
so
absolutely.
Seeing that from your mom, is that something that you like? I was like, oh, I can actually stand up for myself.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Seeing her like that, it shapes how I am now. I can be a very strong force when needed to be. Especially when it comes to my kids, the people that I have birthed. Oh, honey.
Yeah.
I'm not the one to be played with. But I also can be like that in business. I'm like that as a professional, which is why I'm good at my job. I like to lead. I like to be in leadership positions because I'm not afraid to be that one that's kind of stepping out. Okay. Maybe it comes from the fact that I was one of 3 Black people, so I had to be the one. But
it came from like a survival instinct then at that point.
Lot growing up, I would say more survival, but now it's who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say now it's an embodiment of me and my own confidence, because maybe before it's more fear-based stepping out, like I have to do this. But whereas now, confidently,
yeah,
I am me. This is her.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn to like control it and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That reminds me of like when I was like, I would be like wilding out. I'm a goofy guy, you know what I mean? It's just like, so I would do all these character things and like act out and stuff like that. But it was always in a very wild way. And so like as I grow up, you know, you tend to learn how to use it and control it and adjust it and all those things. So it's kind of
use it for your benefit.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were growing up, yeah, you went through school, you survived. What made you go? Did you go straight into like you wanted to be a psychologist?
No,
or, if that's the correct term.
I started. Yeah, it is, and I started in psychology. So I took an AP Psych course in high school, loved it, and said, okay, maybe I'll major in that when I go to school. But I really wanted to go in the medical field.
Oh,
I just knew I was going to be a doctor. I just knew it. I was going to go. That's what I was going to school for. Yeah. When I was looking at schools, that's what I was looking for, schools that excelled in getting people from bachelor all the way up to their MD. So I had applied to Michigan, University of Michigan. I had applied to Duke.
Yeah.
And then I applied to Miami of Ohio. I applied to 3 schools.
What made you want to go to like be a doctor?
I don't know. I think I had always wanted to help people. That's what it is. Okay. I've always had That's
a big way.
Yeah. And a lot of school years. Yeah. But I've always wanted to help people. So as I've achieved things, I've always wanted to bring someone in, be a mentor. And I think that's why I'm a therapist now, because it allows me to help people in the way I truly want to help people. I quickly learned going through school and college that I did not actually want to be in anyone's hospital, cutting anyone open, looking at blood. So I switched into
wait, hold on. Because like you say that, but like, isn't that something that you should have known earlier?
Maybe, but like I had like a come to Jesus moment. I was taking organic chemistry, I think my junior year of Duke, and I was like, my heart is not in this. My motivations and how I want to help people, I can do that, but not have to put myself through all these years of schooling to do things I really have no interest in doing.
Yeah. Was that like a one specific moment that you had that realization?
It was a pivotal moment, because like to know me is to know like I'm very driven, and once I said I was going to be an MD, that's what I was going to do. Yeah. So for me to like make that pivot, it was a big deal. Yeah. I had to sit with that for a moment. And I mean, I was young. I was 19, 20, making at that point in time a life-changing, pivot in my course of action.
Yeah. And in those years, it's like
it's a big deal.
20.
I mean, like it's end of the world. Yeah. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Those moments are kind of crazy when they come to you. It's like, it's almost like you have no choice but to act on it.
You have to be real with yourself and have those conversations and say, is this what I really want? And I said, no. So I pivoted.
There you go.
Happily. Yeah. I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
But it was a big choice back then.
Yeah. You definitely seem like the type that would pivot quickly.
Yeah, I did. It was. I didn't. And once I made that choice, I was immediately like, okay, let's shift gears. What do you actually want to do? What does this look like? Yeah.
And then was it psychology that
it was psychology.
But like,
was
like once you had that realization that you needed to switch, you knew it was psychology?
Knew it was psychology because I had already was majoring in psychology.
Oh, okay.
So it was easy just to kind of stay within that. And then it was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just do grad school. Maybe I'll just get my PhD, become a psychologist, and go that route. Right. So I had already pivoted and already kind of set myself up for that. But, Duke was an amazing time. But by the time I graduated Duke, I was so done with school at that time. I did not want to go to grad school. I just wanted to be working. I just wanted to be out in the world as an adult. Yeah. So I went into a now psychology-based field and working in clinical trials.
Yeah. I never went to like a traditional college. So it was like a 1-year college kind of thing. So we strictly worked on audio engineering.
Gotcha.
Right. So like with 4-year colleges, I hear like the first 2 years you're still taking like courses that really don't relate to.
Absolutely. They're called like gen ed courses. Like everyone has to take them.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes school longer. Right. And I feel like with college, I feel like it's supposed to prepare you for the world more. So it should be going into the things you want to do.
Absolutely. And I feel like college, that 18 age range, you're figuring out yourself. It's your first time, for most of us, away from home. So how to be an adult, how to do basic adult tasks that maybe your mom or your parents took on for you. So it's a big life-changing time. And I mean, I had a time.
Yeah. And you were on your own, right?
I was.
Yeah, because everyone else is in Ohio.
They were all in Ohio, 8 hours away. So I came 8 hours to the south.
It's only 8 hours?
Yeah.
Damn, I feel like
you're
it's
a good driver. It could be 9, traffic, construction.
Being on your own. Yeah. Being on your own, and that's tough. I was alone in college by myself, went through homelessness and all that stuff.
Wow.
And it really teaches you to grow up fast and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Even if you're in a dorm, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Because essentially you're treated as if you're an adult. So you go from this home where you're a child. You may be 18, but you're a child at home. And then you're thrown into adulthood and you're forced to, no one's making you go to class. You go to class on your own time. Nobody's telling you when to eat. Nobody's telling you when to go to sleep or to do your homework. Yeah. So you're really very much in that adult facing role. And I loved it.
Ooh.
I just loved to be able to take control of my life. So being able to do that was wonderful to me. It fits into my personality. I loved it.
So you were like, I'm going to focus on this and da-da-da.
Yes.
No parties. Well, I'm sure
I
there's
didn't
parties.
say all that now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right. You're still young. You're still young.
Still 18 in North Carolina, but very still focused on what I wanted to do with my life.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever take your experience of, like, were you aware that you were by yourself and you had to grow up in that era?
Absolutely.
And so like that, I guess that kind of like translated well with your psychology classes and all that stuff.
It did because our psych classes kind of take you through the stages of growth and development and the mental growth and development. So it really did. It kind of laid the foundation for it. So
it seems like everyone should be taking a psychology class.
I would recommend it, at least a couple. Can't hurt.
Yeah.
To learn about your mental health.
So was it the emotional state that you really wanted to focus on? Is that why the big switch happened? I mean, besides the blood and the cutting.
And also, where did I see my life? Did I see myself working long hours in a hospital? Would that make me happy? And I knew I wanted to have a family. I knew I wanted to have kids. And I knew I wanted to be present. So it's one thing to have a family, have kids, but I knew I wanted to be hands-on. I wanted to be able to go to the PTA meetings, be able to meet with the teachers. I wanted the teachers to know my name. And I knew with being an MD, I may not always have that opportunity. And I wasn't okay with it. Yeah. So I wanted to be able to have a job in a position that allowed me the flexibility to be present. That for me was big because my parents were present and I understood the impact of being able, I was a big track runner and being able to look out in the stands and always knowing one of my parents was going to be there, if not both of them. It made an impact. Even if I had a bad track meet, et cetera, just knowing that my parents were there and having their support was such a big deal that I wanted to make sure when I had my own kids, mom was always going to be there.
Yeah. You were a track star?
I would say I was.
Well, that was an office in high school, right?
It was, yes. I did not continue in college. I did not have the decorum, I guess, to want to run college sports. I had no interest.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I could tell because like you're the leader type, right? And you're the strong type, which makes for a good athlete.
It does. It does. It does. And hopefully those things go into my sons because
I'm sure it's in the blood.
It's in the blood. Has to be.
Yeah. So how was psychology for you?
Psychology was great.
Once you made that switch, I mean, it's like a whole new
It was like,
pretty much,
this
right?
is it. Yeah, this is what you want to do. It makes me happy. Learning about mental health, cognitive health, how to better oneself, self-care, how to heal. Yeah. How to go through things, but then come out on top. That kind of stuff excites me, you know, and then working with people and helping them and seeing them cross that bridge from hurt or a sad, dark place to finally finding joy again. That brings me joy.
So you were the friend that everyone came to?
I was. We call that the strong friend.
Oh, yes. The
strong friend. But yes, I am, I would say, the friend or the family member that will get that call. Because I do like to be more optimistic. Some say I'm a little too optimistic, but I understand how you can get from point A to point B and it can be hard and the journey can be long, but you can get to the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a strong sense of self-awareness. So like being in that position, it fits. It fits.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn, hold on 1 second. I just got, oh, that's a nice ring.
Thank you.
Damn. That shit blinded me for a second. I really like your energy. I really do. Like from the moment I first saw you, I was like, you got a sense of this big energy. But it's not like wild and like overwhelming or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I know we talked a little bit about like spirits and stuff like that. But what was it that you said you like the type of...
So I forgot what it's more called. Like a knowing. So I grew up very religious. So my family is Christian. So in the Christian world, we call it being like a discernment. Like you just have an extra sense of knowing. Oh. An extra sense of, you're not telling me the truth. Or, you know, you can kind of read people very easily. Yeah. You know, you may come into the room and say, oh, I'm fine. But I'm the type of person to say, are you really fine?
Yeah, those people, huh? They always get me.
Always. My clients will come in and they'll be like, oh, I'm having a good day. But I can tell, are you having a good day? And then there we go. Let's talk about it.
Is it like an energy shift that you see?
It is, because I'll feel your energy. So you may come in with a smile on your face, but your eyes are telling me you had a rough time. Yeah. And that's what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about that fake smile because I know it's fake. You know it's fake. Let's talk about what's really going on. Yeah. So I'm an energy shifter because if you come in with that energy, you're not necessarily going to leave with that energy because we're going to work in it. I'm going to figure out what's bringing you down. Oh, interesting. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, get to the root of the problem, right?
That's how you heal.
That's how you shift that energy.
That's how you shift. Yeah, that's how you get through it. Because my ultimate goal is healing. My ultimate goal is for you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if you can't see it and you're honest with that, let's work there. Yeah, let's get you to that point.
It's also that awareness that people need too. Do you feel like you do? You feel like a lot of people, you're just bringing awareness to them?
Absolutely.
That's all it is, really, right?
All it is. I'm not telling you anything that you may not already know, but sometimes you're ignoring it. Or you don't want to hear it. Sometimes it's that, or maybe you're not ready to embrace it. So all I'm doing is sometimes just putting the mirror back on you. I'm not telling you anything groundbreaking that you already don't know.
Yeah. That reminds me of one of my friends. He calls me I'm his mentor. That's what he says. But all I do is just kind of throw it back on him. I'm like, should I be doing this and this and this? I was like, I don't know. You think you should be doing that?
People know. If you give them a chance, they know their truth.
Yeah. It's just about trusting yourself, honestly.
It is.
Yeah, I learned that a lot about when I was a professional actor. You got to learn how to trust your skills and stuff like that, and that translates so well into the life as well.
It does in all aspects of life.
Yeah, and people still have their moments. I still have my moments, just 100%. Like now.
100%. 100%. I mean, we're still humans. Yeah. And we're still living this thing called life. And there's a bunch of curveballs. And just because you pass one test doesn't mean you're ready for that next test.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Do you feel like, I guess you get a sense of, because like you're healing people, right, in a way. And well, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I always wonder this, when is the end? Is there an end?
There is an end. And I even say this, I don't want you in therapy for years on end, because that means I'm not doing my job. And that also means you're not doing your job. You're fighting against something.
That's interesting.
The purpose of therapy is for you to heal whatever that is that you're coming to therapy with, or to grow, learn to set boundaries. You're trying to fix things. Usually what people are coming to therapy because they want to fix something. Yeah. Something is now they've deemed broken. However that be, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your inner self, whether it's, I'm struggling, balancing things. Like I mentioned, all the different hats and stuff you're wearing. And my goal is to help you figure that thing out. And it's not something it should take a year, 2 years. Not to mean that the thing you aren't going through isn't going to take time, because it will. Sure. Every journey is different. They're going to take I can't tell you how long you're going to be in therapy. But my goal is not to keep you there forever, because I want to see the benefits of our therapy sessions. I want to see change. you want to see change. I want you to see change too.
Yeah.
And the longer you work with me, you will see that shift by default, because we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about it.
Gotcha. Damn, I didn't know that. I thought it was like a kind of like people just to go on a
People
regular
do
basis.
check in, and I recommend that. Because again, just because you accomplished one situation, you don't know that next situation you're going to accomplish and how you may react to it. So you may need to check up. You may need to come back for another 6 months to a year. But we're not going to keep working on the same issue years in and years out.
Yeah. That's like that friend that always nags about the same
Yeah,
thing.
after a certain point, you got to say, hey, either going to leave them or you're not.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I've only been to therapy twice in my life, and it's only like one session each.
Oh, wow.
And it was with a spiritual therapist.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm the type of person that really just learns on my own.
Okay.
And so, but these 2 times that I've been there, I just didn't know how to get past it. And so that's why I went in. But I thought that I was doing therapy the wrong way, because I was supposed to go, you know, multiple times and all that stuff. But that's good to know that I was like, if it's only when you need it, right?
Wrong way. But I would say it would take more than one session, because it's going to take me more than one session to get to know someone. You're not going to be your most vulnerable self with me now. I'm just now introducing myself.
Yeah.
You have to give the relationship time to get to a place where then you can start doing the work. Because you're not going to just bear open your most vulnerable secrets and you just met me. You have to get to trust me.
I guess so.
So that way,
I'm not that type of person though. Like I go in, I tell you everything. You know what I mean? Like,
and some clients are like that, but even then, sometimes the stuff you're going in and telling your therapist requires a couple sessions to talk through.
Sure.
Because you may deem it as not important, but the therapist is like, wait, but this leads to this and this and this and this covers your action here, and we're not going to say all that in one session. I'm gonna need a couple sessions to make sure what I'm hearing and what you're saying, they're lining up. So you also have to give the therapist time to do therapy.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I think I was just too much of a figure it out on your own type of person.
Yes.
You know? But that's cool that you do that. I think it's important to do, especially with moms.
Yes.
So when you went through psychology, you got your degree in that. What was the next step for you? Because you just said that you didn't want to continue.
Yeah, I was done for school for a minute, so I went straight into work field. I got a job around psychology based, working clinical trials, managing clinical trials.
Was it what'd you get, a bachelor's degree?
I got a bachelor's.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, got a bachelor's. And Duke has a wonderful alumni network, was able to quickly get a job still within my field. Nice. And now I'm working in clinical trials. So I'm helping people on the different side. We're now using drugs to say, can I help you cure Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease or bipolar disorder? So it introduced a different aspect of this whole helping thing. Interesting. Because it introduced me to a lot of these diseases firsthand, or these mental health struggles and how people deal with them. Yeah. How they affect lives, and the realities of what's out there to offer them help.
Was that something that you wanted to do? Like, I know, like,
I didn't know the field existed until
gotcha.
I knew.
But it was an option for you, right? When you were
I didn't know. I didn't even know you could work in clinical trials like that. I guess I never thought about it in school, because I mean, in school you're thinking the bigger tracks, medical, go to grad school, get your PhD. You're not thinking, so what do I do with this degree? But I wanted to do something within my degree. Knew I wanted to help. That field interests me. I mean, it's all within, figuring out life. So I wanted to know more. So when I got that job and was able to start learning clinical trials, I'm like, this aligns. Yeah. This aligns. Because you're helping, but in a different way. You're not face to face. You're more behind the scenes.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't actually like see the people?
No. At that point, you're interacting more with the hospitals. You're interacting with the doctors. Okay, you're interacting with the people giving the drugs and giving the medications or the different behavioral modification systems. Okay.
Yeah. That's gotta be. Was that tough at some points? Because not every drug is a good drug, even though it's out there. You know what I mean?
Tough, not necessarily tough, but you get to see firsthand how these drugs get from point A to point B. And you get to be able to then recommend to family members when they're going through different things. Oh, maybe you should try this. Or I can read the research and know, okay, well, this drug is actually doing something versus maybe we should wait a minute. Maybe we should let some more drugs come out. So it helped in the sense that you're kind of learning the industry of which you're working in, because you have to think in therapy, there's also the medication aspect of it, depending on what you're coming with. You may be coming with, bipolar, ADHD, et cetera, and maybe on some medication. There's depression medications. So as a therapist, I feel like it gave me a leg up because I understand both sides. I'm not just the face-to-face. I also understand the aspect of if you are on, an SSRI or you're on like a Zoloft, how that may impact your life in both ways, and I kind of work in concert together.
Yeah.
I don't see one better than the other. I think it depends on people's situations and what they're actually going through, but I think it helped me, honestly. And all of it, to me, I see it as a part of the helping industry.
Some people would say there's so many drugs out there, but we should be going like natural or something like that. And obviously some people need medication, right?
Right.
But do you think being on both sides, do you feel like there was the majority of the people could be better off with something more natural or more like meditation or those type of things?
I think it depends on the person. And I also think it depends on what they're going through, their culture, because a lot of times in this society, we're so used to just taking a drug and moving on with our day.
Yeah.
The talk therapy is the new thing. It's having the therapist is the more, especially I would say in different cultures. So for example, in the African-American culture, therapy is just now becoming something that's more normalized, I would say. For a long time, if you said you went to therapy, it was like, ooh.
Yeah, you were looked at.
What's going on with you?
Right.
You really got something going on. To where now I'm hoping with my presence in the therapy field, I can help normalize. Like, no, you can come to therapy because life is going great. And you just want to make sure life continues to go great. Or you're really struggling with maybe the death of a loved one, or you got out of a really bad relationship and you just can't pick up the pieces. I know a lot of times in the African-American community, we go just straight into let's just pray about it. And you bring in the religious aspect, which is good. Nothing wrong with that. But also sometimes you may also need someone just to lend you a safe space and a helping hand to say, look, sis, I'm sitting in this with you. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's talk about it. I know you miss him. I know you had to break up with him, but you miss him. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And in a safe, neutral space. Because sometimes you can talk about that with your friends, but we're biased. If you hurt my friend, I'm not gonna be neutral towards you. I'm not gonna be able to always hear you say, well, I miss being with him. I might be like, girl, why? Because I'm your friend. I care about you. I care about your feelings. But as a therapist, I'm more neutral. Gotcha. What is it about him that you miss? Did you miss him or do you miss that feeling? And we're able to really work through, and that's where the healing comes in. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people don't have that safe space just to have that conversation. And that's where the motherhood aspect comes in, because there really isn't a safe space to just yell out into the world like, hey, this is hard. Because, the world teaches us you need to be grateful. You are a mom. Right. You brought life into the world. You should just be so happy. Right. And you are. But you also have all this emotional stuff that you're then trying to regulate. And sometimes you just want to say, hey, this is hard. And you maybe need to sit with another mom that gets it, that you don't have to explain. And
that's okay, too.
Oh, absolutely. Both things are true. Yeah. You can love it, and it can also be hard.
Right. And it's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be where you
100%, 100%.
Yeah. I always said that. I think it's important. I think people shame the negative and or sad, depressed emotions and think that it's a bad thing.
Right.
When it's not. It's honestly, I take it as it's a transition in your life.
It is a transition.
And it's a transition of where you can go from something that lets you grow or something that you could let it take you down.
Exactly. And that's where therapy comes in, because I want to make sure that depression that you're sitting in isn't holding you down so much that you can't get out of it, because it can feel like that. And sometimes you need somebody just to put their hand there and say, let me help you bring you up out of this hole.
Yeah, and a lot of times I feel like they just need to say it out loud.
Or that. And they need a safe space to say it out loud, you know? And maybe these depressed feelings are coming from their relationship. So they can't necessarily tell their partner, you're making me depressed because of X, Y, and Z. But they need to get it out.
Yeah.
They need to talk about it. So that way their mind can then, okay, so what do I do with this information?
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like calling it out really does things justice.
Yeah. Words have power.
Exactly. Like I still get anxiety from time to time and stuff like that. And especially like socially and stuff like that. And so, but I find myself when I'm in those situations, if I call myself out in front of everybody, then it just releases that pressure off my shoulders.
That would.
And
That's
then
powerful.
I can continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But getting there is like the 100%. Hardest.
Because once you put a voice to it, it no longer is overpowering you. What you did in that moment is you took your authority back.
Yeah.
That's what you did. So therefore, that anxiety has to lessen because now I'm taking back my confidence. I'm taking back my authority in that moment and saying, no, I'm going to own this moment instead of my anxiety owning this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do you feel like when people have like anxiety and stuff like that, or they have depression, do you feel like it's it's something that they're always going to have?
It doesn't have to be. But I would say you name two things where you actually have to work at making sure that doesn't become an always. Anxiety is one of those things where you have to work at it. Because anxiety can present itself in a lot of different ways. It can be the voice in your head telling you negative things. It can be like a social thing where it blocks you from speaking in public. And you have to actively work at your anxiety to make sure it doesn't overpower you.
Yeah. I remember like a few years back, like I always told myself I'm going to grow. I'm going to be a different person every single month. And I feel like, and I had to like heal through a lot of like generational trauma and all these bad habits that I grew up with and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm going to, fix every single one of those things. And with that came all the anxiety, but I knew it was only temporary.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing that got me there faster, got me through it faster, stuff like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, we as humans, we aren't monoliths. We come with many different histories and cultures, and a lot of it comes down to how you were raised. There's a lot of tie-in to just your childhood.
Yeah.
and it comes out in so many ways as an adult that you wouldn't think it would come out, but it does. It'll affect your relationship with your intimate partner, and you would think to yourself, well, how is me being raised affecting my relationship? But it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or how you raise your kids. Like, your childhood is probably one of the most important things that happened to you at such a young age that if you don't heal from those things, it will continue to impact the rest of your life until you do.
Yep. And then that's when you're going to pass that on to your kid.
Absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely. And then there comes the mental burden of, I don't want to pass this on to my kid. So sometimes I'll see clients that are like, oh, wow, I have to now parent my kids. I have to then unlearn all the things that I learned and be this other person that I don't know how to be. So where do I start?
Yep. That's another reason why I try to heal myself as much as possible, is because, when I have kids, I don't want to pass this on and stuff like that. So I was aware of that I was doing that. So you went into clinical trials.
I did.
And then what was the next step for you there?
So clinical trials, I decided I think I might like therapy. I don't know.
Okay.
So I did this like...
Why that thought though? Because you went into psychology.
I did. But I wasn't sure if therapy was a thing. Like, did I want this in person, face to face? Like, because you're going into people's stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to be mentally ready for that, because you never know what the stuff it may be that day. It may be something very traumatizing, or it may be something light. You never know. And you have to be ready to be that saving hand. And as much as I like psychology, I was like, okay, is this what I want to do? Am I mentally ready to handle that? Because when they're unloading and getting it, like, you're that person that they're dumping it on, per se. Right. It doesn't really feel like a dump, but I'm now the safe space for you to get it out so we can start to work on it. So mentally, you have to make sure you're sound. You know, if I'm having an off day, I can't think about that in session, because for that hour-long session, my focus needs to be on you and what you're telling me and how I can help you pick back up those pieces.
Yeah, it's emotion. You have to be emotionally strong.
Emotionally strong, and then you also need to know how to let it go at the end of the day. Because I still have a life. My kids don't care about nothing that I have going on. They see me as mom, and that is it. So I need to make sure I'm able to put back on my mom hat, step into that, and not think about anything else that happened throughout the day.
Okay. So what was the what was the decision there?
So I was just like, let me just step a toe in. So NC State had like a few courses where you can just kind of see if you like therapy, if it was for you. I did that, loved it, fell in love with it. And I was like, this is it.
What about it?
The ability to change lives. Ooh. The ability, because the thing is, I realize I do this anyway. When my friends call me, when my family calls me, I'm sitting here therapizing them anyway. Yeah. So let me actually learn what I'm doing. Let me learn the power behind my words. Let me learn those things. And in the midst of all that, because I had never been to therapy myself prior to that point. But in school, they mandate it. You have to go to therapy. So I went to the therapist for the first time, and I was like, wow. Because I was working on things that I didn't think were problems. So how many people have things like, oh, I've healed from that. I'm done with it. That are actually still affecting them to this day because they actually have not healed that thing. So to me, that was powerful. Yeah. I was like, wow.
You get change perspectives.
It did. It shifted me. So I wanted to be able to then be that space to be able to shift other people. So, and in school, you work with everyone. You don't have like a certain niche per se that you will after. So I worked, with everyone, heard all types of things, and I said, this is for me. Yeah.
Was there like a specific maybe type of problem that somebody had that really made you interested?
I would say whenever I was talking to my female clients and just kind of hearing them going through and being able to just kind of link up in sisterhood and just be like, hey, you're not alone. Sometimes just hearing you're not alone is enough for someone to kind of put their burdens down. Yeah. And just to see those transformations in that hour-long session to say, wow, I remember when you first came to see me, and now 6 weeks later, you have a smile that's genuine. Yeah. It wasn't there when I saw you.
Honestly, like a therapist is like a teacher.
You are. You're kind of teaching them, but also allowing people to learn their truths. Because again, I'm not telling you or advising you in any way. You're coming up with your own truths, but sometimes you need that quiet space to figure it out.
I like that. How long was that program, I guess?
So it was like 2.5 years.
Damn.
Master's. So did that. But
so you got your master's? That was through your master's program?
Yeah, that was a master's program. So after that point, you become a licensed associate. You're able to practice, and you're able to start seeing clients and really kind of working therapy how you want to. Yeah. In the sense that you niche down. Maybe you don't want to see certain clients. Maybe you want to focus just on children, or I just want to focus just on seeing elderly clients, or et cetera. Yeah. So you kind of figure out where's my heart leading me. And I know for me, around that same time, like I said, I had my firstborn. I went through pregnancy and postpartum. And I remember thinking, like, there's so much about this that's the emotional, mental, that no one talks about, that moms that have already done this have went through and kind of suffered in silence. I wasn't okay with that. I was like, look, I want to talk to other moms and let them know you're okay. It's okay. And just give them that space. So for me, I knew quickly I wanted to talk to other moms. I wanted to talk to other people that were also trying to balance all types of roles in life. So being a professional, being a wife, being a mom, being a daughter, being the strong friend, the one that everyone thinks has it all together. I wanted to be that space for that person that was like, hey, I'm trying to do everything and be an all-star, but sometimes I'm not doing my best. Sometimes I'm losing at all the things that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And offer them a space to just talk about it, get it out. Because they still deal with hurt and pain and trauma. Sure. And while people may think, oh, they got it all together. She's fine. She's good. She's always strong. That person still has stuff they're dealing with.
Yeah. That's why they say check on your strong friend.
Hey, amen. And this is my therapy is the check on the strong friend. So come sit in my couch. Let's talk about it. What's really going on with you? You know, I know you're doing everything for everybody else, but how are you? How are you doing today? So are you good?
You went straight into that?
Sometimes.
Okay. Gotcha.
I do. Yeah, sometimes.
Because like, you know, and sometimes when you know, people get their degrees and they kind of like do it more of a broad at first and to find their niche, but you seem to go.
So yes, to answer that question, yes, I went straight into it because I knew where my heart was and I knew where the need was. Because there wasn't that space. 2, there's not many in that space that look like me.
Right.
And the Black mortality rate of pregnant women is about 35% higher than every other race. Oh. So it matters. Damn. We matter. So our mental health heading into that hospital room, heading into those doctor's offices, what we need as we're pushing or getting a C-section looks a little bit different. We have to advocate for ourselves a lot differently. And I wanted to make sure as a therapist, I had a space where I was able to help moms as they're going through one of the most life-changing experiences you'll ever have.
Damn. That's important.
Very. Very.
Yeah. But that's, you had your first kid when you got your...
I had my first kid before I started my master's.
Okay, so that made it easier.
Got pregnant, and then in the midst of my pregnancy, forgot that I had applied to grad school. Like, you know, had other things going on.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to have an interview with me, and I was like, oh my God, I applied to grad school, and now I'm pregnant. I'm having a kid. But it worked out. It like all came together. It worked out. So as my son is 3 months. I'm starting grad school. I'm a wife. I'm engaged at this point in time. So I'm a fiance. I'm still a professional. So I'm putting on all these hats immediately. And I was like, this is a lot. Yeah. You know, nobody talked about this. And I'm a book reader. So I'm going to read something down. If I have any questions, I'm going to research. So I read everything about the 9 months of pregnancy and what postpartum looks like. Nowhere in the book does it talk about the emotional weight of what motherhood.
Really?
Nowhere. No one talks about it.
That's wild.
And it's a big thing because as soon as you become a mom, it becomes part of your identity in a way that it is overarching. It almost removes your individual identity because I'm a mom first and then I became Tiffany. And it doesn't always have to be that way, sure. But that's how it becomes immediately. Because as soon as the baby's in the world, everything becomes about the baby. People stop checking on you. How's the baby doing? Oh, how's the baby? You know. And then eventually they'll be like, "Oh, how are you? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
But by that point, hours went by. You know. So that motherhood role just kind of it envelops you, and you can get lost in it quickly, and it can get very. What's the word I'm looking for? It can be kind of isolated. You can feel kind of lonely in that because, again, the world says you should be very grateful. You just had this healthy baby. You got through labor and delivery. Aren't you so happy you have this baby? And you are. But the mental weight of, wow, my life has just shifted. I went from being an independent person, you know, in a relationship with a partner, what have you, but an independent self to now I have to take care of someone who can't take care of themselves. I am a mom. People see me as a mom first. They stop seeing me as Tiffany. Where did Tiffany go? Yeah. You know, and you're just thrown into it. The hospital hands you your baby and that's it. You're thrown into it. You're thrown into diapers and waking up every 2 hours. You don't get that breath of air. No one's, you know, asking you, how are you doing? And really being serious about that. They're just asking you as like a courtesy, but they really want to know about the baby. And you need to be like, oh, I'm good. I'm handling it. When in reality, you may not be.
Interesting. Do you feel like you were ready for that type of, those type of clients?
Yes.
Even though, I mean, you had your 1-year-old, right?
Yes. Well, by the time I graduated, I now had 2. So I'd been through this whole stage twice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah. I always tell my friends and anyone that gets pregnant around me, like, oh, I'm gonna keep it real with you. You want to know the real of being pregnant and postpartum? Oh, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll give you the real stuff you're not gonna find in a book.
Yeah.
But you absolutely need to know.
Damn.
You know.
You got a lot of knowledge in there.
Well, hey, I had to go through it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll even get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about how relationships are impacted by motherhood, or like, you know, we'll talk about those things, and I'll give those little tidbits to my friends and my family, so they're not going in blind.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So and also so they know, hey, if I get into this and it gets hard, I can call Tiffany, and she ain't gonna have no judgment. She's gonna be like, "Yep, it's okay, it's cool, you got it."
Mm-hmm. With postpartum, how common is that?
It's very common.
Very common.
And it's
why does it happen? I don't know too much about it. So
the mental weight of it. No one tells you at that moment everything that you're used to. So pre-kids, you're used to getting up and going. You're used to laying out your schedule. That literally changes the second that baby is now in your arms. Your day is dictated by a little 7-8 pound baby. And in that, you lost yourself because you're not eating like you used to. You're trying to feed the baby. So if you're breastfeeding or even formula, whatever works for you, you're getting into the groove of that. The baby can't communicate with you. They're only communicating by cries.
Right.
So you don't know if they're hungry, if they're hot, if they're just uncomfortable. So they're crying. You have a relationship that you've now neglected. So your partner is just like, hey, I'm here. I don't even have time to be thinking about what you got going on over there because I'm trying to keep this baby alive. I'm trying to care for myself because after birth, a woman is healing. Your body has now went through a very big thing. It's a big thing. If you went through a C-section, an even bigger thing because you now been cut open. So you're trying to heal. And plus now I got to be super mom because society tells us as soon as my baby is here, I got to step up. I got to be all the mom. I can't be slacking. So you're sacrificing your food, your sleep. So a lot of times you're not doing anything that makes you feel like you. Yeah. And it's very easy at that time. Also, your hormones are going crazy. So the things that would normally maybe stop you from feeling depressed or anxious, your hormones are going crazy. You no longer have that ability to gauge yourself. Yeah. So postpartum is serious, it's real, and it's not that hard, or I guess to say it another way, it's more common than what even is talked about.
Do you feel like maybe because if the husband is there, do you feel like maybe him playing a role of, you know, taken care of the baby a little more so she could have more space? Do you think that'll help postpartum?
Yes and no. So it will help eventually. I will say it's usually husbands that's going to notice you're having a little postpartum first before you, because they're going to know you. Yeah. And you're not going to be acting like you, but you're going to not act like you in such a way that your husband is going to say, something is off. Because usually I hear from the husbands first. Right. Something's a little off. And then I'm like, okay. And then I know what questions to ask the wife or to say, maybe we got a little bit of postpartum depression or anxiety. But yes, having a village when you have an infant is key. But as a mom, one of the first things you're going to have to learn is how to relinquish control. And that's so hard to do because your natural instincts is going to tell you, I have to care for this baby. This baby is mine. Like I am the only one that can care for this baby. And you have to let your husband come in and help you. Yeah. So yes, having a helpful husband, partner, spouse in this, 100%, please.
It seems like, knowing that, do you feel like, I don't know, wives, even fathers in general, or to be fathers, to be wives, to be mothers, should maybe prep themselves before they have the baby mentally?
Absolutely. So and that's where the therapy comes in. That's where I recommend that, because you need to have these conversations with your partner prior to the baby getting here. It can be something basic as, can you just do the dishes every day? So the mental load of the dishes, I'm not thinking about. Or a big one I always talk about is sleep schedules. Who's a night person in the relationship? Who's a morning person? Talk about that. Because at some point in time, both of you are going to need to sleep.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is that when the newborn is here, you guys may not be going to sleep at the same time. So if I'm the night person, I'll do the night shift. But then at 3, 4 a.m., let's switch off.
Gotcha.
You take the baby, let me go to sleep and get in uninterrupted sleep for 2 or 3 hours. You know? So it's simple conversations like that you don't think about.
Yeah.
Especially if it's your first one until you're in it. And by then, you're not articulating yourself in the nicest way is what I always tell my clients. You may think you're saying things nicely to your partner. You're not, because you're not sleeping. You're both frazzled. You both have this human. You don't really understand it. He's trying to learn. He or she is trying to learn you guys, and you guys are trying to learn the baby. So you're not able to articulate things and say it in the nicest way. Like, honey, can you please, make sure I eat? You may be like, I'm hungry. And it just may be like you're already hangry. Yeah. Especially if you're breastfeeding and you're using your body to feed the child, you're running through calories way faster.
Oh, I don't know.
So you're hungrier.
Right.
You need to drink a lot of water to make sure you have enough milk. So there's a lot of conversations and things that need to be had in relationships prior to having the baby. And also you need to know the other person. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of always saying, don't have a baby to save a relationship. If your relationship was not, I mean, we're going to go there. Yeah. If your relationship was not where it needed to be prior to having a baby, the baby is only going to amplify all of those negative things. Yep. The lack of communication, trust, or whatever.
It takes it to a whole new level. Right?
Whole new level. If anything, you just threw a nuke on your relationship is what you're going to do. And you've only sped up what was probably always going to happen with you guys not being together. So don't do that. No. Know your partner beforehand. Y'all have a good foundation and space beforehand. So that way when you both get to the trials of having a baby, because for a man too, if it's his first time, you guys are just like, I want to help. How do I help? How do I help? And we won't know as a first time mom. You're like, I don't know how I need you to help, but be there. Even if it's just simple as we're both in the trenches together. Yeah. But again, we're both then going to be moving without sleep. Yeah. And we're both then going to be, a little bit more frazzled. So you want to have your relationship in a place where y'all both can communicate. So after a hard day, you can be like, that was a hard day. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Right. Or I got a little overstimulated today. How do you feel? Yeah. And be able to call the thing. Like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just overstimulated.
Right. Yeah. I think that's something me and Sybil do. Yeah. Well, because at the end of the day, even if we always have we call it pillow talk, and we just talk about our day and stuff like that. And when we're having a little bit of frustration or anything like that, we always at some point one of us would come, and call it out.
And that's good. You have to, because sometimes what happens in relationship is you then become the closest persons to me. You become my safe space, but you also know my triggers. You also can irritate me faster than some random person I don't care about, because I love you. I care about you. Yeah. So therefore you have to call it like, I've had a rough day. So therefore I'm speaking with you in a little bit more direct tone or a more clipped tone, but it's not you. It's just me. But we don't communicate that. So then the other partner is like, well, why are you being so mean? And it causes chaos and confusion. Yeah. Whereas you need to just say like, look, I'm overstimulated. And the thing is, when you have kids, especially when you've now went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, you can get overstimulated. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of things, moving parts. You got toddlers you're trying to keep alive from doing toddler-like things. Right. You get overstimulated. So you have to be able to just like, let's take a moment. It's me and you against the world. I'm not mad at you. You're not mad at me. It's a lot.
Yeah. How do you take a moment when there's kids around?
When they go to bed.
Okay.
You make consistent routines is what I say. And I always like to tell moms, clients, friends, family, put that baby to bed. Yeah. So you and your husband or you or your partner can have a moment to just look at each other and just say, whew, look at what we done did.
18 more years.
Today? Exactly. Or just have a simple, how are you today? How was your day at work? Haven't been able to ask you that because the kids have been going crazy. Did you have a good day at work? Just have an adult conversation. Yeah. Or, hey, let's just watch a movie. We may sit and fall asleep, but let's just like be together and recognize our relationship still matters. We're going through a hard thing, but we're going through a hard thing together. Let's talk about it. So yeah, we put the kids to bed.
Yeah, that seems like it almost seems like you just have to have a really good foundation from the start. That's what you're saying.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
You have to know how to communicate even through the hard stuff. Because to say I'm overstimulated, it takes a bit of vulnerability. That to some is going to be easier to some than others.
Sure.
So to have vulnerability with your partner, that's a foundation. You have to communicate. You have to have those hard conversations. Every conversation is not going to be sunshine and roses.
Right.
Sometimes y'all going to be looking at each other a little crazy. But you also have to know how to come back together after those conversations. How do we bring it back together?
True. Yeah.
And that's what breaks any relationship. And of course, a marriage at that point, you know, families, et cetera. You have to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Communicate.
I feel like your communication, awareness is another big one, right? Being aware of the situations and the things going on, the little behavior shifts and all that stuff.
And that only comes with time. You have to literally know your partner to be able to sense those little shifts, which is why with the postpartum and things, usually I'm grateful when they do have a partner because they'll immediately pick up on like, you're crying a little bit more often. You're not as happy. Something is off. And they, most of the time they're not able to pinpoint it, but just by especially if a partner comes to me, I'm immediately keyed in because for the fact that you've noticed something has shifted. Yeah. You know, and if you're a mom, you're too far in it. Like, for example, I just went through my third postpartum period and I now recognize, okay, I know my hormones are crazy. I know my hormones for like the first couple of weeks are just all over the place. So my way of handling situations may not be as calm as they normally would, or I may be a little bit more frazzled. I know that now 3 pregnancies in.
Yeah. How long does postpartum last usually? I know it ranges.
Postpartum, I mean, you can be up to a year, past a year.
Damn.
Because postpartum, it just traditionally, it's the period after you have your baby. While your hormones will settle. But postpartum depression you can be fine. And then 6 months in, you're like,
again,
I'm feeling the weight of this. I'm going down. So I always caution people, just because you're a couple months out and you made it,
you're not in the clear.
Just keep going. Make sure everything's fine. You know, because it takes a while. They say 18 months for a woman's body to go back to normal after being pregnant. So give yourself time. Yeah. And especially if you're a first-time mom and you've now made the life transition, give yourself some time because you haven't went back to work yet. That's a whole different world.
Right. Yeah. Patience is key, right?
Patience is key. Grace is key. Communication is key.
I should ask my mom about that because I was a C-section baby, but I was also a crying baby. And, you know, my parents were immigrants. They didn't really know anybody at the time. So my dad was off to work and she was just taking care of me and my sister. Yeah. And so like she had like staples in her stomach. And when I asked her, I was like, was I a crying baby? She's like, yes.
And that looks means you are crying. Yeah. And that's the thing. You never know what type of baby you will have.
Right.
You know, and just because they're a crying baby doesn't mean it's bad or whatever. That's just their way to communicate with the world. But a high pitched shriek to an adult ear, it's a lot. Right. So, and every parent's goal is to make sure their baby is not crying. But some babies that is just how they introduce themselves to the world. It's just, they just cry a lot. Yeah. And that's hard. That's going to be hard on you. That's going to be hard on your mental.
Yeah. She's like, you ripped out staples because I had to pick you up and because you were constantly crying.
Yeah.
It was hard on
Listen, like, motherhood, it's a hood. Yeah. That's for sure. It's like I was thinking to myself this last time around, it's like you almost get jumped in. It's almost like a gang.
Oh, yeah.
Because labor, first you have your whole pregnancy, you go through it and your body's changing and all of that, and then you have the whole labor and delivery period, however that looks. Maybe you had a C-section and you didn't want a C-section, and the recoveries are different. And then afterwards you have the baby and you're losing sleep. Like it's a lot.
Damn,
it's a lot.
I was reading up on babies and how to take care of them and all these things you got to look out for, and I was like, damn, especially like as a newborn when they don't have a lot of like their immunity and.
Yeah. It's scary. And then you have to think in the pandemic, So let's throw the pandemic in there, because
Yeah.
I did have one during the pandemic, my second.
How tough was that for you?
Well, for me, I loved it because I like to be isolated anyway with my baby. So by default, I had to be.
Well,
so
I guess I was talking about more of like a doctor, like the labor.
I love that part because, again, with it being COVID, they didn't want too many people in the room. So it was minimal.
Okay.
Just one nurse stayed with me the whole time. My doctor was there, and I liked it.
Yeah.
But you also have to think of the anxiety that then comes trying to learn how to parent in a world where we have to be shut inside. I can't take my baby outside. I don't want to baby get sick. So I'm stuck in the house, the anxieties that come with that. So the mental labor of that almost looks different if you had a pandemic baby. So my clients that'll come to me and they had babies, maybe their first was during the pandemic, we're almost having a different conversation because the trauma that may be from that, they may have healed physically, but emotionally they may have a little bit of trauma from like, I couldn't leave the house with my baby. I was stuck inside. And as much as a homebody I am, when you have a baby, you got to get out the house a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to see the sun just a little bit.
Right.
Or take a leisurely trip to Starbucks and Target and just have a little bit of you time. So if you couldn't do that, and then of course the mental weight of motherhood and all the things, you have a little bit of trauma, a little bit of postpartum, a little bit of PTSD.
Ooh.
So yeah. So and I say all that to say, because I understand that world.
Yeah.
I knew as my voice as an African-American therapist, I wanted to be able to talk to other moms that were going through it. Just even if it was just simply to say, I get you. Yeah. I understand you.
Do you ever recommend just going out in nature and getting some sun?
100% all the time.
Like nature induced therapy, I guess you could say.
Yes, and I've had clients that took walks while they did their therapy sessions. They can do both. Nice. I don't care. Yeah. But yes, getting outside and just breathing the air, taking a second, take it out of motherhood. Just if you had a stressful day at work, get away from that computer before you send that email that you shouldn't have sent. Or responded in a way you should not have. Go outside. I'm a big advocate for that. You will see me doing that. If I've had a long work day, I'm walking away from the Outlook and the Teams, and I'm going outside.
Yeah, especially like someone who's energy based, right? I think water is such a big part of it too.
Yes,
Get near some water.
Get water. Take a lap. Walk around. Drink some water. Do something. Yeah. Yeah.
Go to a lake, go to a pond.
Anything, especially if it's warm out. So yeah, I'm big on that.
Yeah. I just recently saw that water predicts what it is taking in. So like if you put a sunflower seed in the water and they froze it and the water replicated a sunflower bloomed already. So it predicts what it's going to be.
Water's powerful.
Yeah. It really is. Do you feel like the water is like a big part of your life as far as like energy?
It is for me. I know for me, I'm a big after, let's say I've had a long day of sessions or working in the clinical trial world, a shower for me can be transformative because I think of it as I'm taking these energies off me. Oh. I'm literally clearing negative energies off me. So I've had a bad day or, maybe I'm reading an email the wrong way. Maybe the tone isn't coming through. I'm going to take a shower at the end of the day just to clear all that out. Yeah. To me, I see water as transformative, as a way to just wash away. I mean, literally washing away dirt, but washing away negative energy, washing away things so that way you have some clarity. So I feel like when I step out of the shower, I'm like, okay, I can breathe again. Let me re-look at this with fresh eyes. Yeah.
Did you have to learn that? Because from the beginning of your therapy sessions in your career. Yeah. From now, that's a big...
I feel like now I can put words to it. Okay. I feel like I've always naturally, after a long day at work, I would come home at 5. The first thing I would do is shower. Let me get this energy. Let me get these clothes off. Let me just rid myself of this. Yeah. I now have the words to describe what I'm doing. Gotcha. It's just I'm clearing this energy out. Yeah. But I've always...
That seems hard. As a new therapist, just seems hard to deal with afterwards, I guess.
They teach you kind of how to compartmentalize in school, but I would say people that are therapists, this is their birthright. This is what they were meant to do. So innately, they have different systems and things in place to help them. Also, they probably have their own therapist to talk about things with. So, because you can't bring that home per se. Because as I said, my kids don't care about nothing that I have going on. I am just mom to them. So I can't be burdened down with, other things. I got to be ready to be mom.
Yeah. So talking about energy a little bit more, do you have like kind of like the spirit energy as well?
When you say spirit energy, describe
like if you have experiences dealing with the spirit world.
Oh, okay. In that sense, I would say for me, I've always learned things through dreams, even as a young child. In that respect, I've always.
What do you mean by that?
I would say my dreams could be, I get a lot of information from dreams.
Okay.
Sometimes they can fill me in on things that I may not know about or key me into this is where I'm having issues and anxieties about that I may not be addressing. So I would say my sleep space, when I'm able to finally calm and just kind of go into that sleep space, is when I would say I'm more attuned to the more spiritual side. I, have my conversations, do my prayers, my meditations, and really am listening. I would say during the day, I'm very good at being busy where I'm not listening in the sense of, in a more spiritual sense. Whereas at night, my discernment's going to kick in at night. My knowing, my ability to be able to read the room, it automatically kicks in when I'm in a face-to-face session. But more so, I would say for my own growth.
Gotcha.
For my own spiritual enhancement, it will kick in more so at night. I would say in the dream space, I have a lot more dreams and ability to navigate life from there. But I will say my journey with I would say more spiritual aspect, I would say now more as a therapist, I'm more in tuned because I've allowed that part of my life to really inform my life.
Yeah. You let yourself open up to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm letting myself open up to it more and more. And now it's gotten to the point where, I've had a friend where I met his family and 3 of his family members in spirit. But it's always been with him, nobody else. But recently I've been trying to like be more aware of situations that happen. So like I was talking to someone last week and he was talking about his brother that passed. And all of a sudden there was like a flash of some guy like just standing right there. And described him and he's like, that's my brother. He showed me a picture. I was like, oh yeah, that's him. I was like, huh.
That's a gift.
So like, yeah. And I know that there's like places out there that you can learn how to control it and all that stuff. But to be able to open yourself up in a way that those kind of things happen, I feel like is, I don't know, it's a whole new level.
It is. It's like you've like powered up. Like if you think of like Mario, like you got that like power up. When you allow yourself to be your true self in all aspects of that, in coming with your own spiritual gifts and things, you have no choice but to win because I'm operating in alignment. And that's the biggest thing, and a lot of times I feel like it's not talked about as much because I feel like a lot of people have gifts and they either write them off or they've ignored them or they've closed themselves off to it. And I know for me, it was around the time my entire family had caught COVID in early 2021, where, I don't know, it was just something about that experience where I was like, I have this discernment and this ability to really read the room accurately.
Yeah.
You're not getting it past me, and sometimes knowing things about people that they may not be ready to tell. But I already kind of have that insight. And I just decided after going through COVID with my family, and honestly, we went through it fine. We didn't have any issues or anything. And it was fine. But I made a decision. I was like, I really want to grow that part of myself because it's never let me wrong. That's the thing. If I get more in alignment with that, I'm going to be more in alignment with who I am as a person. And I have no choice but to succeed.
How do you grow that part?
First saying yes.
Oh.
Saying yes. Saying yes. So I said, as a child, I used to have a lot of dreams and different things. And I feel like it would scare me a lot because, I mean, you're 6, 7, 8, talking about dreams and people are like, that's a little weird.
What is it particular dreams or is it just?
No, just the fact that
dreams?
you know things you shouldn't know.
Oh.
As a 6, 7, 8-year-old and you're like, oh, well, I dreamed it. That's people are going to give you a little side eye. So I feel like for me, I've always been intuitive and it's helped me throughout my life, but I'd never really attributed certain successes in my life to the fact that I'm just very intuitive and I can really read the room and really, if someone is not being honest with me, I can pretty much read through what you're not telling me.
Sure.
And I started to realize, what if I just said yes to my full self? What would happen? Mm-hmm. Am I okay with it? And when I say yes, a genuine, let me stop blocking myself.
Yeah.
Let me stop blocking myself on my journey. Let me embrace my full self and see who she is. Mm-hmm. I'll never go back.
That's a powerful thing. Yeah, you can't go back after that.
You can't. But that's also very true. And there's a certain level of once you know a certain amount of things, you can never unknow them.
Right.
Once you know the ABCs, you can't not know the ABCs.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Especially dealing with like spirits.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't say that I don't believe in spirits anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, with your experiences, you would be crazy because you would be denying a part of yourself at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that's not being in line. That's not being your true self.
Yeah. Being your true self, saying yes to the world. Yeah. That's wild. So you have your own business, correct?
I do. Mm-hmm.
And what is it called?
It's called Transformative Destiny, PLLC. So it is my counseling practice. It's where people can find me if they're ready to start their journey of transformation. That's why I called it Transformative Destiny, because I knew at the end of the day, what I'm doing in people's lives is really transforming. Mm-hmm. I'm really helping you to shift because subconsciously or consciously, you're coming to me because you're ready. Mm-hmm. You're ready to deal with that hurtful thing, that wound that you've been unable to heal from. You're ready to actually deal with it, heal it, grow from it.
You ever get somebody that's like, man, he's not seeing you, but he needs to see you. Like it's become a desperate thing.
Yeah, I've definitely had people that were resistant. Mm. I've had people say, I don't want to cry. I don't want to be emotional. I don't have emotions.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, I'm gonna go with you. You ain't got emotions? All right, let's just talk. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, they got emotions.
Yeah.
But they need to feel safe. They need to feel trusting. And they need to allow themselves, because sometimes those emotions are tied to wounds so deep that if I even open it up just a little bit, the floodgates are going to open.
Yeah.
So I got to make sure as a therapist, I'm making the space for you to feel comfortable within the relationship that you can open it up. And if you go deep, I'm a be there with you in the deep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, some people say that they're scared to go deep, not because of them, but if the other person can handle it and stuff like that. And I think if you have a good therapist, then
exactly. And the thing is with therapy and a good therapist, he or she is going to go in the deep with you. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to leave you in the deep. You're not going to just get in the deep, reopen that wound, and then we're just like, bye.
Well, I think that's what people think that's going to happen.
No, the whole purpose of therapy is we're that life raft.
Yeah.
We're going to need you to go into the deep because I need to get to the truth and I need you to see the truth of the situation. Mm-hmm. But then we're going to start pulling you out. But when we pull you out this time, you're going to no longer feel like you need to go into the deep. Mm. The deep won't feel like it's the deep anymore. You're going to truly be able to say, no, I'm healed from that thing.
Yeah. I feel like you can never live a truly fulfilled life if you haven't healed.
Yes, but the process of healing is what scares a lot of people because to go through something and it to be hurtful is one thing. To relive that trauma is a whole nother thing because now I'm choosing to re-hurt myself. I'm choosing to deal with that heartbreak or pain or grief or anger. Sometimes a lot of trauma is in anger and people write that off
especially with males.
Oh, yes. And people write that off as like, oh, I'm just angry, but I'm not hurt. You didn't hurt me. Mm-hmm. No. That anger sometimes is covering up the real hurt and pain. Absolutely. And the tears that you refuse to cry.
Yeah.
But they're there.
Yeah. Yeah, me and my dad had our relationship is but it was always anger that I saw. The only emotion I ever saw him in, it was anger. Growing up. I'm like, damn, that is crazy. And sometimes I would get to the point where I would just all of a sudden just lash out and say something like, I hate you, or I don't like you, something like that. And I would see that energy shift in him to depression. And I was like, there's something different. There's something that's true. There's the root of the problem.
Yes. And that's hard, especially when you notice it, I would say, in the older generations. There's a lot of differences in how, I would say, our generation and even younger deal with emotions.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the parental relationship, the familial relationship. And especially in certain cultures, it's very much so. We give them respect. We don't, question them at any point in time. And whatever they say goes, right, wrong. However, where I feel like we're in a generation now, I would say a lot of times we're questioning. We're not just going with the typical, this is what was done before.
Yeah.
And to the older generation, it sometimes sounds disrespectful for you to ask them a question or to call them out.
Yeah.
But we're very much in the call them out generations.
Yeah.
Very much. I've seen a shift where it's, you'll hear a lot of families going through where you'll hear someone say, I've went no contact with X, Y, and Z family member. That was something I had never heard of prior to, I would say, coming of age. And then, of course, definitely in therapy. And really sitting down with people who are like, no, I've went no contact with my dad. Really? Like, how does that work?
Right.
What led you there? And there's a certain trend that keeps presenting itself, and it's someone in the older generation unwilling to grow with me.
Right.
I'm now of an age where I don't like to be talked to in that way, or you make me feel X when you do this. And instead of being like, oh, I didn't realize it made you feel this way, let me try to shift and let's grow together. It's, well, this is how I'm going to treat you.
Yeah.
So then you'll see a family member say, well, if that's how you're going to treat me, well, then I can't have a relationship with you, which is a huge dynamic shift than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah. Or you just accept it.
Yeah.
Right?
Or literally you just accept it and you kind of make yourself smaller in that sense.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people aren't doing that anymore. They're saying, no, I want to be treated like X. You need to treat me like X. And if you don't want to do that, we don't have to have a relationship, which is, it's a big deal. And like I often see, like on TikTok, I'll see, moms sometimes getting on there like, I don't understand why my daughter won't talk to me or my son. I've done everything for them. And you'll see like certain creators respond like, did you really?
Yeah.
I'm sure they told you, and I often think about that because there is that generational, just like a shift, because the generation above us, they weren't allowed to question their parents or say certain things. So they just kind of they put up with it.
Yeah.
But then you get to our generation, it's like, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
I know you put up with it with your mom, but I'm not putting up with it with you.
Right.
So it becomes a whole shift at that point in time. And you have to grow with your kids from this point forward to remain in their lives. Yeah. And that's it's a big ask.
Yeah. And like, it's tough because like, I think about my parents and stuff like that, my dad and stuff like that. It's always been a love-hate kind of thing. And it's always get mad at him and then we don't talk and then we eventually talk again and then get mad and then talk. And it's just a cycle.
It's a cycle.
And it's like, when do I stop the cycle? Or do I stop the cycle and just accept that's the way he is? And I will trust that he is going to make this type of life for me and him and stuff like that.
And I always tell clients that fall into that, first thing is you have to grieve the reality of the relationship that you have. Because a lot of times, especially when it comes to the parent relationship, we're seeing it through the Disney lens. This is how you should be a mom. This is how you should be we're going to have this relationship. Yeah. And when it doesn't work out, we keep trying to mold it into that relationship. Instead of accepting your parents as humans and realizing, no, this is actually what our relationship is. And if I'm not okay with it, I need to grieve the fact that I wanted a better mom, or I wanted a better dad. I wanted a better relationship, and I'm not going to get that with you.
Right.
And by grieving that, you learn to accept, you learn to heal, but then you also learn to make a decision. So do I keep this person in my life, or do I keep them at arm's length? How is this person then in my life?
Yeah. Because like not talking to them at all and just
stop it.
That's a really big deal.
It's
they say it's
huge.
They say it's almost. I heard something like you can't live a good life if you're not in touch with your parents, like both mom and dad and stuff like that. I don't want to say good life, but
it's a big one. Yeah. So whenever I encounter people that are in that type of, that's what they want to work on, that's the journey.
Yeah.
Because your parents are who made you. And they're a big part of your childhood by default.
Yeah.
And to say you're going to go no contact with them, that's like cutting out a part of yourself. So you have to, like, and obviously if the parent is toxic and abusing you, like, it's a clearer situation there. Whereas it's more of like, we just don't talk to each other great. Like, it's just not, I don't feel good after our interaction,
Yeah.
And it's then, well, is the parent willing to work with you? Are they willing to understand? Because it's hurtful. The parents often find it hurtful for you to be like, oh, well, it really hurt me when you did this through this when I was 8 to 10 years old, and I'm not okay with it. Yeah. Sometimes there's you don't remember it right, or just taking accountability is a big thing for people in general.
Huge.
Parents, relationships, friendships, accountability is huge.
Yeah.
So to find yourself in a place where you need someone of importance to take accountability and they're not willing to, that's when you need to be finding your nearest therapist, because you need to be talking about how you handle that hurt and pain, how you deal with it, and then how you're able to heal yourself to the point where your children, you're not repeating the same thing with your children.
Right.
Because you may think you're not repeating it, but you may or may not be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially hard for immigrant parents. My God. Like, my parents came from Venezuela, right? So like they have Latino families in general, they come from a place of, I want to be like, this is when I was little and stuff like that. I want to be what the white man has, right? And so they strive for that. All they do, like growing up, my first language was Spanish, and then my dad was like, "You got to learn English. Don't talk Spanish." And then I lost my Spanish, and then they were trying to be Americans while I was trying to be an American and trying to figure it out. And so it was just this whole dynamic thing that they have. They have this idea of being the white man or being the white woman and stuff like that. That just doesn't really correlate with their own life. It's like they're not living their full life because of that.
Absolutely. And I know that's often talked about in counseling immigrants, especially because you have your own culture that you come from. Yeah. And depending on the age at which you have left your culture, it's very within you.
Yeah.
And then the American culture is very individualized in a way a lot of cultures are not. So you're trying to kind of marry the two together, and it's hard because there's also this huge language barrier that presents a whole other issue. And then also you have to think, in America, it's hard being a minority. As much as you may strive to attain, I want to be seen and looked at a certain way, your skin color or your ethnic features are what presents first.
Yeah.
So until you're able to embrace that, you're constantly going to be fighting a battle amongst yourself, who you are, your identity, trying to be somebody else, trying to fit in what your family wants. Like, you're fighting on all fronts. And that's hard.
It is very hard. Well, I appreciate you coming by.
Of course. Of course. I feel like we can talk all day.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody kind of like where they can find you and stuff?
So you guys can find me at transformativedestiny.com. You can also email me at tiffany@transformativedestiny.com. I'm also on all social media, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. Hit me up if you're ready to start your work. I'm ready.
Change your life with Tiffany.
Not change your life, but change your life.
Right. Yeah. All right, cool. That's it.